Is there any additions to the agenda?
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
2.2H, Calgary Metropolitan Region Board Regulation. And there's a
Okay.
hard copy that I handed out this morning that found online this morning, finally, after how many months?
yeah, okay. Any other additions, Rex?
That's in which one?
2.2H. Rex?
Mr. Chairman, I had a resident request for a sign. Should I leave that for Dave's report and ask, would that be appropriate there?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Councillor Harwood has forwarded that to me, and I've forwarded it on to our Public Works, so they
Okay.
can speak to that and Dave's report, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah, okay.
I have a request over at Road as well, so I'll just do it in Dave's report as well on information that I'm looking for.
Bernice, all in favor? Carried. The adoption of the minutes, September 5th, 2017. Alice?
I so move.
I so move.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's one revision on there.
Yeah. I was going to see if anybody's seen that first.
Well, I'm going to mention it. I believe Councillor Bland was not in attendance, and she had sent regrets. So she's shown in attendance, so if we can just have that removed from there, Mr. Chairman. I believe that's the only change that we noted.
Yeah. Your name was down twice. Any other questions or concerns?
I will move the amended council meeting minutes of September the 5th, 2017.
All in favor? Carried. And also shows you were there. I know. Yeah. Okay. Okay, new business, request for decision. Agreement for the Safety Code Council.
Mr. Chairman, on this one, we have Judy and Mac are in to speak to that if there's any
Okay.
questions in regards to that. So.
Okay, sure.
Just if, does anybody have any questions?
First, yeah. Anybody got any questions?
I didn't ask them to do a presentation, but if
Okay.
there's any questions, they
Just
can
any
certainly answer them.
questions? Okay.
Question I had sorry, through the chair.
Go ahead.
Had a discussion with one of the fire chiefs out in my area. And this is all coming down because of the province. This isn't something that we've dreamed up, right?
Through the chair, no, this isn't something we just dreamed up. It's a decision of the county to provide safety code services in the fire discipline. We already provide multidisciplinary bundle of safety code services, electrical, plumbing, heating, elevators, and building codes. And now, since 2014, we have not provided this service in fire. So inspections and investigations would become the responsibility of the county. And we would be less reliant on the Office of the Fire Commissioner. And we would be more self-sufficient, get quicker turnaround on our planning and development items, and better customer service.
Yeah, my comment to him was that it shouldn't affect our local fire departments it's more administrative, right?
Through the chair, you are correct, Councillor Armstrong. It would be more administrative, but it would be myself that would be doing the inspections and investigations on behalf of the local fire chiefs in the different departments that we have. And it would be quicker and more responsive to our ratepayers.
Right. Any other questions? Council's wishes.
I'll move the recommended action. that we approve the entering into an agreement with the Safety Codes Council to provide quality management plan for fire discipline, and the council approve application for designations of powers for safety code pertaining to fire.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Your Worship.
Request for decision, overnight stay.
Also move the council approve an overnight accommodation expenses for the Agriculture Community and Protected Services Administration Assistant to attend the Report Exec Training Conference for 2 days, 2 nights in Edmonton, November 15th and 16th, 2017.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, overnight stay.
I'll move the council approve the recommended action for a one-night stay for a planning intern to attend part 2 of the Sustainability 101 and extended education course in Camrose.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried.
And just for information, I just got an email that's snowing in Camrose.
Yeah, I can keep it. Request for decision, overnight stay. Bernice.
Also move for the overnight stay for Wheatland County Council approves the overnight accommodations for one Wheatland County employee to attend the Class B Bridge Inspection Course Boot Camp in Edmonton, October 3rd to the 5th, 2017.
Okay. So it's just one overnight stay or 2?
It's gotta be 2,
4th?
yeah, but it's
If
for
it
one
goes up on
employee.
the 3rd, you would have to stay overnight on the 3rd. Would be 2 overnights.
Just one employee. That's
Yeah,
what the
one employee, 2 overnights.
Yeah, it should be for 2 overnights, Mr. Chairman.
Should.
It's plural on the end.
Oh, okay. Approved overnight accommodations. Okay. Any other questions?
Just a note on that, that is a requirement for our inspectors, like our on-staff inspectors to inspect the 600 and some bridges that we have in Wheatland County,
Yeah.
right? So, seeing as the province doesn't do that on their own bridges, but
All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, ATCO lease. Alice?
The council approved the lease agreement with Atco Gas for the 3.12 meter area within the closed portion of 3rd Avenue, Jackson Avenue, as described on Title 1711638894 within the hamlet of Rosebud for a 20-year term. And the rest that's written, I don't think I need to write it out. Margaret has it all.
Not the one that was on the road, Laos, or?
It looks like it. Why does ATCO Gas want to lease that? Nobody knows? I don't think the building's on the lease. I know there's a building there. But if you look at the map on page 45, you can see where the road allowance is. And that building is not on the road allowance.
Would Mike be available to come speak to this?
I don't know, is there anybody? Yeah, please. Okay. think so.
Your division. So the end lot, which is the subject, is what we own? And
We
that
don't
co-
own the lot, I think they own it. It's on the road allowance, that's on the end, and that road has been closed.
Hmm.
Like I see the circle at the bottom and then I see subject at the top. So the subject at the top is the fire hall, correct?
No.
That's on the other side.
Points to that end lot.
Yeah. Yes. It looks like that Atco's encroached on the property and they're buying, they want to lease it, so their encroachment agreement's off. But there was another development wanting to use that for something else. Okay. We will. Yeah, good morning. I have a question for you. We're looking at this Atco lease for that portion of closed. Only reason they want to lease it is because they encroach on it, or?
They have a setback, sorry. Through the chair, they have a setback requirement that they have to meet, and they weren't able to meet that without using a portion of that road allowance. So that's part of their application to AUC, I believe, is that they have to use that portion in the existing facility already. So that's the reasoning behind that. I don't think they have any plans of any future construction on there, but.
So they want to lease the whole width of that road allowance, or?
They only needed this portion, and we did look at possibly leasing the entire portion, but this is adjacent to another application that's coming forward, and I think to leave that area open just in case that is needed for access for that future. That's kind of why we left that sliver out of the easement on that one.
So it's just wide enough to satisfy Atco's encroachment
Exactly, correct, yeah.
and give them proper setbacks?
According to the pictures, and that's the fenced area with that piece of pipe coming out into that. That's the piece they're renting, from the looks of it. Right.
Well, they're not renting it yet, but
No, but that's, because 3 by 12, and that looks about right for that size, right beside the
Right.
building. It's a fenced area with a stand coming out of the ground into the,
I'm trying to think, yeah, sorry, I didn't bring the picture with me.
Yeah, being on the road allowance won't affect anybody else, just them, if it's encroaching on it.
Well, no, it won't affect access because this road allowance accesses through the chair, the Highway 842 going north there. So there's no direct access off of that, yeah. In the future, we can't say that there won't be an application for that, and that's why we left the option open there. At the same time, we've also left this lease to be, it's got some clauses in it that allow us to terminate it if we feel the need to use it in the future there, so. So we do have a little bit of cover on that one if 5 years down the road, it's not a no-end term clause, lease on it.
you're aware of the other application that wanted a piece of this road? Are they still planning it, or as long as you're aware of it, is it going to hinder them in any way?
Through the chair, they are, I believe, aware of this. We know we have a application as this being part of their phasing. I think we can make it work with both of them.
Make it work?
Yeah, because they're planning, actually, the application was for a road closure on that other subdivision application to close this road entirely, so I think we can make it
You make it work. though.
Meet both needs of both applicants there.
You're recorded now as saying you'll make it work.
You bet, you bet, and for sure. I mean, truthfully, that access is not, like I said, it's accessing Highway 842. It's likely not going to be used in the future as an approach onto that highway, and not dictated by us, dictated by Alberta Transportation. It's
That's
not a very safe area to enter the highway to begin with, at the bottom of the hill. More for the traffic coming down that hill at greater
Well, I think
speed
the other
there, so.
application had a different use for it. didn't
That's
they?
correct, yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, if it can make it work, then I don't have a problem
Yep.
with it.
Yep.
Okay. Rex, you had a question?
I don't know. So just with what we're talking about on other applications or whatever, is 20-year term relevant? Like, is 20-year term, that'd be my only question.
I
Does
don't
that
think it
pose some
would
issues?
bother.
But
No.
as long as you don't feel, then I'll go along with you there.
If they can get along together, yeah, then it's okay. Okay, someone made a motion? Alice did. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Thanks for coming in, Mike. That was the ATCO lease EF, request for decisions.
Drafted a letter based on
Thank you. Okay, any questions? Or-
So, Mr. Chairman, this kind of goes in light with the request for decision and the comments made on that. The request from the minister's office was to have comments by September 22nd, so it still permits us to provide those comments. And of
Okay.
course, the public has access to that information and able to make comments over and above that as well. So this is the recommendation that staff is recommending, and the letter subsequent to the minister.
Okay. Council's wishes? Ben?
I'll move that we accept the letter and send it off as our comments, and if anybody has any comments, they can speak.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, discuss item request for support. What is G? No. You got any idea what G is? Alan?
So, Mr. Chairman, on August 30th, there was a request for myself to attend a meeting in regards to submission by Prospect Human Services to run a pilot program to address the employment needs of unemployed or underemployed Albertans with disabilities. So I attended that session, and they were looking for a letter of support. I give a verbal suggestion that Wheatland County would support that application. They were looking for a letter of support to be sent in by the end of August, and we received the letter August 30th, so that didn't happen. So the letter they were asking is that we, the business leaders of Strathmore and Wheatland County, hereby support and endorse proposal by Prospect Human Services to run a pilot program to address the employment needs of unemployed and underemployed Albertans with disabilities. People with disabilities make up roughly 14% of Canada's population, yet the unemployment rate of people with disabilities is much higher than that of other Canadians. This illustrates disparities in the way people with disabilities are perceived. It's also evidence of an untapped talent pool. As business leaders in Strathmore and Wheatland County, we recognize the importance of tapping into this demographic in order to build a skilled and inclusive workforce and to make sure we have a community where all individuals can thrive and participate. We also recognize that collaborating with partners, including Prospect, will help us achieve our goal. Our consultations with Prospect have convinced us of their expertise and experience in helping employers integrate people with disabilities into the workforce. Their track record of understanding industry's needs and supporting employers to build more inclusive workplaces in Alberta is compelling evidence of the effectiveness of their approach. Further, we are aware of Prospect's track record with supporting employers and job seekers with disabilities, through their retention and replacement services. We look forward to accessing these services. Please accept this letter as recognition of our commitment to working with Prospect and to making Strathmore a successful community with respect to inclusion and diversity. So that's what they requested. Unfortunately, this letter didn't come in until after the deadline, September 5th, I think it was received by the office. So I just gave a verbal report at the meeting that Wheatland County, from our standpoint, would be supportive of this. There's no further follow-up, I don't believe, in regard to this right now, in regard to this letter, because they've already submitted their proposal to the province of Alberta. So Prospect, just so you know, Prospect is an employment service similar to McBride that's contracted through the province to provide employment services. And they do that in the area of Airdrie. And they're looking at this as an off branch of that for people with disabilities in Alberta. So we do have, and we currently have, and we haven't had in the past, to people with disabilities employed with Wheatland County. And I strongly support that. So that's all it was, is just follow up on that request that you'd asked that I attend that meeting. So.
Yeah, I'd gotten a request and I had asked Ellen to attend that. And further to that, I had a conversation. I think Strathmore has tentatively been picked as the center there was a few communities around. And I know we're a little late for a letter of support, but it wouldn't hurt if we support it to send them the letter now and they'd have it in their file. I know, Ben?
Yeah, I didn't understand what it was, but my question when I was reading it was, is that for when you're supporting that, is that this office supporting them, or are you talking about Wheatland County as a whole and all the businesses out there? And do they, if they get involved, or if the businesses get involved in it, is there funding to help them? Because that could be quite a cost to some of these employers if they have to start putting stuff in place to make it accessible to some of this.
Certainly, and that support would just be for the Wheatland County operations, so to speak. Yeah, that's all I can speak for. I can't speak for the private sector and how they would do that.
Yeah.
But it would show that we're leaders in accepting people with disabilities into the workforce, as we are. So.
Okay, Brenda?
So, on that, advocacy in motion, how does that affect that? And the relationship to that process as well?
You know, that's council's decision. I was just providing it as information, a follow-up. If council wants to send a letter of support, you certainly can. The deadline's passed. It probably won't have an effect on their application, but not a problem at all.
No, I'm referring to advocacy in motion, which we already have in place. Like we already have, so currently, right now, within Strathmore, there's advocacy in motion who places those with disabilities in the workforce right now. And they're out there trying to raise funding for their particular deal. In fact, there's a fundraiser coming up in October with regards to that. And so I guess my question is if this is government or is this private industry versus what Advocacy in Motion has already been doing and what we've seen. That's what I'm saying, because there's groups out there doing the same thing.
That's right.
And so I'm not sure whether we should be supporting one and not the other at the same time.
I understand the Advocacy in Motion is a nonprofit, so is Prospect. They're a nonprofit organization in this regard, but they're looking for a contract with the province of Alberta to provide this service in Strathmore. Strathmore and Airdrie were the two that they were looking at, because they're already established in Airdrie. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the gist of it, so.
Well, I guess my question is, if you support one, we need to also support others, I guess, in the same, they do essentially the same thing, just like the application we had in where he trains to live independently and stuff. So I don't have enough, for me, I don't have enough information. I'm on their website right now. I'm on the, I think anything's good. Like, I think it's important, both organizations. So that's kind of, like, I'm not suggesting that one is better than the other, but I'm suggesting that if we're going to do that, then maybe we should check into the whole picture and what's going
And
on
I'm not
already
suggesting to
locally.
do the letter, I'm just saying, just accept it as information. This is the report back.
No.
I'll move to accept it as information.
Okay. Any questions?
So are we? I don't have a problem with what they're asking. My concern was, like I said, I wasn't sure if it was for the whole county or if it was just for these offices, so what would be the harm in sending a letter and telling them that we support what, and it's on record so that.
We got a motion on to accept as information. We can accept it or not accept it as information, and then we can still make a motion to send a letter of support or not after the motion for information. Because I got to
Well,
deal with this first motion first.
Unless the first motion was amended to just say that we, like, we're accepting it as information, but instead of accepting it as information, just say that we, otherwise you look like you're,
Friendly amendment, is that what you're
yeah,
asking for?
yeah, that's what I'm
Send a
throwing
letter
out
of
there, a
support,
friendly
Ken.
amendment
Yeah,
to say that we.
that's fine, Ben. Friendly amendment would be fine.
Okay. So send a letter of support and accept it as information. That's good, Rex? You got that, Margaret? Everyone understands? Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We got the Calgary Metropolitan Regulations Review here. We just got it this morning. I don't know if, probably haven't had a chance to read it.
So I just provided his information, Mr. Chairman. I have not had a chance to read it either. I checked last night at 6 o'clock and it wasn't on the website, but it's on there this morning. So once staff has had a chance to review it, we'll bring back a report on October 3rd on
I think.
some of our recommendations and thoughts. I don't know if there's a consultation period even. Like they suggested before, there would be a 60-day consultation period, so I haven't even had a chance to look at that to see if there is.
Yeah.
It seems a little odd that it comes out, the two, Edmonton and the Capital Region and the Calgary Metropolitan come out at the same time, and there's no other regulations come out this week, so. it seems
Yeah,
a
they
little-
said they'd have it out before the election too, so.
It's out here for public comment until the 2nd of October.
Okay.
Public comment and review until October 2nd.
So in light of that, Mr. Chairman, council may want to set up another meeting just to discuss this, because this is a pretty big item. But I think staff will need a week or so to get through it. So perhaps if council would like to set a meeting, because the next meeting is October 3rd, and that sounds like that'll be too late.
Maybe it's a day late, yeah.
There's a whole half page on the description of Wheatland County on page 11.
Yeah, I've
right
mapped
down
it
to
out
the
already.
Detail.
So we want another meeting?
What dates are open, Mr. Chairman?
Well,
For
next
staff.
week is,
I agree, we need to review it, staff needs to review it, and we need to look it over, but I think, to be honestly blunt, my outside voice speaking, if we have another meeting, we're wasting time. We're not gonna change anything. We can review it, you guys can review it, and if there's something blaring that I see in my review, I can bring it forward, but there's nothing gonna change in here.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little concerned that the province of Alberta has stated the regulations would be open to the public for 60-day consultation. And my calculation would show, we got an email yesterday saying that it would be posted last night, and I don't know, it probably was, but I didn't check after 6 o'clock, and now they're saying they want comments by October 2nd. How does that give the public an opportunity to put input into it? So I respect what you're saying, and then that's council's decision. At the least, I think we want to post it on our website and let the public know they need to comment on this to the province of Alberta.
Yeah.
Because this is a big issue, or big concern.
I know it is.
There's pros and there's cons to it. So,
I know.
Brenda?
So I'll make a motion that we direct staff to post the regulation on our website put it up there for our public to, with the explanation of the time and the deadlines.
okay, Mr. Chairman, with staff we will be doing a review of this in the next week. Angie and her staff and myself for sure. And we will be making comment to that, and I'll let you know the comments that we've made. And I encourage you to talk to your ratepayers and let them know that they need to comment as well, because it does affect that strip of landowners that are in that area.
When you make your comments, would you CC it to all the council?
I will, yes, we will. But that probably won't be till later next week, just so you know. We're fairly booked, both of Angie and myself are fairly booked up this week, so.
Alice?
And in doing that, Alan, could you draw a map of the exact land that we're looking at and talking about?
Yeah,
That's
we'll
gonna-
provide a map like we did before of what it looks like. I think Angie's already got it sketched out on some comments she had with the staff last week in municipal affairs. So, but we'll get it tidied up and we'll send that out to you as soon as we can.
Yeah, and then that will direct our attention to the exact area and what
Yeah.
it entails, because it's going to impact our industrial area, right?
That's correct. That's correct. We'll also put that on the website as well, once we get that put together. The industrial area already is included in the Calgary Metropolitan Plan. That's the only growth area in Wheatland County that's identified there, so just so you're aware of that. So
Yeah.
that's not a surprise that that's in there. Good, bad, or indifferent, I don't know. But
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So as far as a motion, what do I want to accept?
Well, Councillor Knight's made a motion to direct staff to
Okay,
post
that's
this
right.
information on there with a map.
Yeah.
Is that okay? I've added that. And
Yeah.
with a map, and we'll do that probably today. We'll be able to get that up. Maybe
Okay.
not the map, but we'll get that up
Okay.
as soon as possible, and then you'll have an idea where everything's at, so.
Okay.
You guys want another meeting? I'm just telling, that was my outside voice, I'm just telling you.
Well, I would really like a meeting of the council with the next week and go through this. This is really important. It's going to impact greatly the Wheatland County. And to just let it slide by saying, and I know it's your outside voice, that we can't change anything. Well, if we don't speak up, we'll never change anything. So I think it's important that all of us get together and understand what we're doing here. And what's that, a half a day?
So, Mr. Chairman, I would
Possibly.
propose that if works for council, next Thursday, September 28th. Just trying to see, it looks like Angie might be here as well. That would probably work best for staff. It gives us a few days to kind of get through it
That would be great.
and start at 9, and we probably could be done in, hopefully by 3 hours, I would think.
If you can do it before noon.
Well, a half a day should do it.
I would recommend a council meeting as well, so that there can be a motion made if there's a letter to be sent to the minister, not a committee of the whole meeting. So it will be advertised and open to the public.
So can we just recess this council to that date? Otherwise,
No.
we gotta send out notice.
No, we just post it. You need to post it for at least 48 hours, and we can do that. We have lots of,
Okay,
so it'll be a special meeting of council only to deal with this matter.
9
That's all
a.m.
you can deal with.
9 a.m.
9 AM, is that okay?
Okay? It's going to be tough for me to make it. I don't know if I'll be here or not.
I won't be here either.
Okay, then let me propose
But all the
another,
other days are bad, too.
the 9th,
29th?
sorry, it's 29th. The only other one is October 2nd.
29th?
29th is better for me.
Angie won't be here that day, so that's not the greatest for
How
us.
about you, 29th?
I think I won't be back.
Angie.
I won't be back by then. I have a conference that week.
That's a Friday, so the 28th would be better for staff, I would suggest.
Okay, well, if I'm not here, I'm sure.
What about October 2nd? I know it's cutting it close, fine, but
Deadline would be the midnight October 2nd.
that's next Monday. We won't have time to get through this.
Why don't we try October 2nd?
October 2nd?
Okay.
That gives time. That's time.
An email's an email, just as fast. October 2nd works good for me. 9 o'clock, October 2nd? Monday. Same day as Wademza.
Okay.
October
Council.
2nd, 9 AM?
Yeah, October 2nd, 9 AM.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So can that be an amendment?
Part of your
Friendly-
motion, Brenda?
Fred, you have a motion that says,
Yeah.
post it on the website, do a map, put it on the website. Do you want to make a friendly
So
amendment?
friendly amendment to the meeting of council on 9 AM on October 2nd.
So it's,
Perfect.
yeah, so special council meeting for the Calgary Metropolitan Region Board Regulation.
All right.
You okay with that?
All come down to my mouth like that.
Any more we want to put on that, or vote on it? All in
got nothing?
favor? Carried. Okay, staff reports. Corporate and financial services.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
My report, which hasn't been provided since, I believe, July due to the council recess, is on page 82 and 83 of your agenda.
Okay, any questions? Okay, any questions? Pages 82 and 83 on your package.
That's not approving the budget,
No, it's just,
just the,
His report on pages 82 and 83. Give a minute to look it over. Ben has moved, accepted his information. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, intern operating and capital budget review.
Yes, so this has been provided on page 84 of your package. Just to note that this is interim, this is our first draft. This is just to kind of give council an idea of where administration is, I guess, looking to go with the 2018 operating budget, operating and capital, my apologies. So my thought is the first one we could look at is the operating budget, if there's any comments or feedback. One item I put in newly this year at the very front is the changes between, kind of a summary on page 1 of the operating one. is just the changes that staff has suggested to bring to council. And there's notes from 1.1 to 7. It's just the significant changes. Yes. So on page 1 of the operating budget, which I believe would perhaps be page 85 of your agenda package, is just very significant points of the operating budget. So that is one very, very important piece. So at the bottom, under point 4 is kind of a grand total of the larger items in the operating budget. At that point is about 39.5 million of the total operating budget, which is about 47 million. So those are your key expenditures at that point.
So through the chair, when I was going through this one, and I'm assuming from what I was figuring out, things like the Drumheller transfer site, that there's an increase built into that.
Through the chair, yes. So there was an estimate done by staff to kind of bump those up. What I had done is look at previous years and the previous increases, and these are all just estimates. So kind of our larger expenses are the Drumheller waste requisition, the seniors lodging, and by far the most significant is the Alberta education amount. They go by equalized assessment based over the past 3 years. So what we do is they give us our equalized assessment, they take a mill rate, they multiply it out, similar to our residential and all of our tax bills. So we have to kind of wait for that.
I kind of figured that's what it was, because I know because of the year that we've been having, it's been good and it's been bad and it's been up and it's been down, but there could be a slight increase. That's why I was looking, it looked like there was a, okay. Lots. I think outright there was ample in there to do anything. Probably won't need it all.
Okay. Any other questions? These positions are all new positions? There's some replacement I see one was.
Yes, through the chair. So point 3 is new positions that staff or managers or general managers have requested to be filled. These are new positions. So the economic development officer, there's a records management position, some staff for, I believe, planning, and a shared position between ASB and Parks. They're all under point 3. I listed out the type of employment, the estimated annual salary, and kind of a round or an estimate for benefits. So those benefits are CPP, EI, LEPP if eligible, health and dental, critical illness.
Okay. Brenda?
So at what point will we be able to, I have a certain, I guess, project and requests across the county that we can have those discussions to add to budgets for next year. So within certain budgets and things that and some of it is, I think it's capital, but some of it's operating because they need to be maintained on a yearly basis. So when will that discussion happen?
Mr. Chairman, that discussion can happen today if you want to give direction to staff. We've brought it quite a bit earlier than other years because Brian's got it all in order. So we're open to any comments. All of the general managers are here. So to provide that feedback would be fantastic right now.
Okay.
We don't expect you to approve the budget today. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for input and so that we can make any adjustments that need to be made. And we understand that there'll be a new council in November and there might be changes. So it'll be coming back in November. But we respect that you guys have been around for 4 years and more, and we want your input into it. So.
And then when we do pass this interim budget, it's not the final budget and there's changes to be made or, yeah. Brenda?
So on that note, I guess I direct my through to the right manager. Is that what I need to do? So on, I had Alan give us a quote on signage, portable solar signage for communities for their speed limits. And they're in Strathmore, they're all over the county, they're all over the province. And each of the signs is worth $5,000 was the rough estimate. But there's a package, a data package that comes with it. And they're different than what we've had before, because what we've had before is the larger unit that was more cumbersome. This one here can be mounted to any post and they're solar. And so I was going to just recommend, and what I'd like to see is those tools provided to our peace officers so that they could move them around the communities, Nightingale, Lyelta, Rosebud, Jamaica, and they're $5,000 a piece, so they'd be roughly $20,000. And then the data package is, yeah, Gino, that's not what you said, I didn't hear you till, didn't clue in. And the data package, I think, runs around $500 a year, if that's not. So I'd like to see that added into our peace officers, and maybe a conversation with our peace officers as to their perspective on that one. Because I think that would make our community safer. So I'd like to see signs that are portable. And maybe if they work well, we may have to increase and purchase more. Because we do cover a large area, and we have a lot of hamlets and a lot of smaller areas that need those kind of things. So that would be one thing. Thank you.
Max?
I guess I have a question to that. It's just, why is there a data package? Is it recording the speeds that it comes by, and then just for information for our own records?
Yeah, I've had, I spoke with the town constable, Teresa Fuchs, and she said that they had several complaints about people saying that there's people speeding through and it's a horrible area and whatever. And she said that also gives proof that people weren't speeding through there. So it was a way of tracking what was actually happening in the neighborhood, especially when there are severe complaints against people and irrational speeds all the time. So she can actually go back and say, gee, these people weren't, or during this time when this person phoned, we recorded no speeders. So it also is a data package, and we do have situations where people phone and say, oh, everybody's speeding through the neighborhood. And maybe it was only one truck, and that one truck isn't everybody, right? So there is a data package to track it, and it also gives the opportunities for our officers to be available when there are those speeders. Like if we know that the traffic flow is going through at certain times, and that's what I was told. So it's a tool for our peace officers, which I thought would be beneficial as well.
So it's an educational tool, right? And with the data package, you can track what time of day. So like Councillor Knight said, I mean, you can say if the traffic is speeding at a certain time, that may or may not happen, I don't know, then you can gear your enforcement around that. So.
Yeah, and further to that, that was something the RCMP wanted to do at the new school out on 561, because they wanted to get an idea of how the traffic was moving at that corner. Was the corner, the pull-offs and pull-ons, like to come around for the school, were they adequate? And that would help them look at that too for policing, because there's some officers' children that are going to be going to that school, so they were a little concerned that it was unsafe, and they verbally said that to me, and they were going to be out there watching it very closely. So if they could get that data package, that would kind of give us some maybe power if we got to go back to the government to have the aprons maybe larger, or the pull-off and pull-ons, you know, extended and widened. We talked about that with Dave on that intersection, and maybe even it would be nice to realign the intersection maybe in time. So that's all, that would all be
Not with
something.
this.
Pardon?
The only thing that these will do is track speed. They don't do any intersection, no lining.
Oh, they don't.
These signs only track speed.
Oh, speed, okay.
So it would be speed in numbers, that would be it. That's the only reason. This wouldn't do your
But
intersection.
wouldn't it help on that?
No, it
Oh.
would track if you're doing over 80 going through the 80 click zone, and it would tell you the time of day that they are speeding through there. So you could
Okay.
put a peace officer or a RCMP there for that. But sorry, I didn't have my mic on. But it would only be for speed and And it's just a tool for our peace officers and policing, so that's something I'd like to see.
I had a different question besides that, if I may.
Same topic?
It's to do with the budget for the signage, because,
Let's finish the talk with Brenda's first, okay?
I'm done.
oh,
Okay,
think
no,
I'm
I was
done.
wondering if there's any more questions on these signs.
Yeah, I guess.
Through the chair, just to clarify, so we had come up with a number for about maybe $5,000 for the capital, and then later on you had mentioned 20,000. So just so I understand, 4 units and,
And you know what, and that's why I'm giving it back to Angela, because she can, yeah, giving it, and, sorry, Angie, sorry, full name. So, it's something that she can take back with the peace officers and have that conversation, because I think they'll need a minimum of 4, minimum. And I'm not so sure that they wouldn't need a minimum of 6, but, because we do have a lot of areas to cover. And if you start listing our communities, Hamlet, even our regular Gleason, Carsland, and then, you know, the other hamlets that are concerned, Rosebud. I mean, the larger ones that we have that are already there, if you even put one permanently in each of them. And I guess my goal is let's start with 4, 6, and then add as we need. If they're such a
Through the chair,
successful
though,
tool.
do we, if this is gonna be if we're just testing them, why wouldn't we start with 1, move it around a little bit and see if it actually does what it's supposed to before we buy 4 of them and then end up having to sell? What's wrong with 1 to start with?
So, and in light of seeing what they're doing in Strathmore right now and the improvements that they're doing, and that the fact that I traveled from here to Fort Mac last week and all the way through, they aren't taking them down. Some of them are staying up permanently.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that we'll review it and we'll provide that in the second draft of the budget, some recommendations
Okay.
and some options, which may include what I've heard this morning, what we've heard this morning. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, now I'll ask Alice.
on including for a budget on signage, I know Economic Development has been asked to look at the communities' signs for our communities around the whole of Wheatland County. And I don't know whether there's any budget been put in for the possibility of having the signs right at the communities, not on the highway saying, go that way to hit somebody, but actual community signs. And that we are only discussing economic development, but there would be no budget if we come back with something, so.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, there's nothing been included in that, Alice. As you know, and as you've stated, Economic Development Committee is discussing that. So once they come together with some information, we can add that to a future draft of the budget.
Okay,
Once we know kind of exactly where they want to go, they've got a pretty good idea, but until we
Yeah.
know exactly, then we can add that, if that's okay for you.
so
with
we
you.
still have time to add that later.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
the first draft of the budget.
Good,
Yeah.
okay.
But appreciate the
No
comment.
problem.
I'll make a note of that so that we
Yeah.
don't lose sight of that.
Okay, any other, Don?
As far as speed signs, I think Speargrass have purchased their own. They have one operating down there. And one other question about the proposed fire hall. Is it up in the air?
Mr. Chairman, the proposals for the fire hall close on September 28th. So we'll know the pricing and that'll be coming back to council. That's in the budget for this year. So when we get that final number, then we'll know. Last time I talked with Judy yesterday, I think there's 40-some companies, whether they're architects and construction companies that have looked at the plans. So I'm anticipating we'll get some fairly competitive pricing on that. So that'll come back to you in October. Okay?
Okay. Any other wishes?
Any concerns with operating first off? And you've had it for a week, so we assumed you had gone through it. So we've provided as much information as we felt we could, and hopefully you guys are happy with that. So if there's no other, I guess all we're looking for is comments today in regards to it, and we'll bring back the second draft in October if you want.
one other item I'd like to note is that just by mistake, I excluded one item that just should be in the summary, so it's very, very clear to council on number 4. It's the expense for the ICF and IDP amounts. So those are requirements through the MGA. So that's going to be a significant portion of work that the county is going to have to undertake this year. So we've budgeted for it under administration. So these costs are fairly significant, and it's budgeted in the operating. So it's going to be $750,000 in 2018 and $750,000 in 2019. So these are costs that we must incur through the new MGA regulations.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd asked that Brian to do that, to identify those separately. We'll track those separately with the idea that we'll be coming back to the province saying, and they already know because other municipalities have already made the request for grant funding. It's a huge burden on every municipality in the province of Alberta to undertake these. $750,000 in 2018 and $750,000 in 2019, and that's as best an estimate as we can determine. We've put a lot of time and effort into that. We've talked to our other counterparts in Foothills and Rocky View, and they're budgeting way more. They're budgeting more staff. It's a huge undertaking, so we need to appreciate this huge cost. So we're going to track that very thoroughly so that we can go back to the province and say, here, what did we gain for the $1.5 million or $2 million we put into these? When we could have been transferring those funds to other municipalities like we do, those are going to get lost in space through extra staffing costs and consultants and whatever. I mean, we're going to have to get consultants to do most of ours because we don't have the capacity to do it in-house. So just so you're aware, that's why that's identified that way. So.
And that's probably minimum.
Not sure, right? No one's sure.
Yeah, it's really an estimate. We've done some research into the numbers, but that's the best that we can provide council at today, for today.
Okay, anything else? I can go home and think about it too.
So, Mr. Chairman, I guess just a motion accepting it as information and directing administration to take the comments provided for the second draft. We'll bring back the second draft in October. Again, we're not expecting it to be approved. We're just keeping the process going. And then in November, we'll bring it back to the new council, which may have some new faces, and we can review it again. So that's the intent, to keep it moving. So,
Bernice?
Also move
So move.
acceptance of information.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. I'm sure the capital one's next. Do you want these books back, or?
No, those are for you guys to keep. So
when you do the additions and stuff, could you just do the additions with different pages, or you'll end up with a whole new book again?
well, we will probably provide a new book.
Okay.
My thought is that we want to provide council with an electronic copy and a tangible copy for their records so they can take home and
Okay.
review it at their convenience.
Seems like a lot of paper at the end of the day.
It is. If any council member wishes not to receive a hard copy or just wish to receive new pages, kind of the issue with that though is that any changes on any page will change the summary page. So then we'll have to be very, very diligent with, and we can be. That's no problem. But we just want to make sure that all changes are captured and we're providing the most up-to-date information to council.
I think just to be safe, just redo the whole thing. And
Yeah, the effort going into printing is minimal. I guess the only problem is the ecological footprint or environmental footprint, I should say.
Okay.
Yes, just to further Councillor Armstrong's comment, last year I provided a change, just a summary of changes that we made from the first draft to the second draft. I can provide that as well again, just so it's very clearly illustrated what changes were made.
What's the significant changes in this budget?
Yes, through the chair, yes. So I think that this is kind of the administration's wish list on any projects that we do currently have. I know there were some discussions with road projects that we would like council's directions on which ones to proceed with, if there's any ones that we wish to tender out, or kind of maybe council's wishes on that, or any direction that could be provided at this date.
Any comment?
Yeah, I like the documents. They're easy to, looking for something that was easy to find what I was looking for anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make one comment, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to thank Angie and Dave and Brian on putting this information together. They spent a lot of time putting it together, and I think it's a very good document to start with for you guys to chew over. So.
Okay, if there's no comment, a motion to accept his information. And has moved. Comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you again. Good. I guess it's lunchtime. Oh. You want to come back? We have a 1 o'clock appointment. Maybe I'll wait a little bit, see if somebody comes? Or should just do it at 1 o'clock? Is that what Kim's here? Yeah. Let's do the 1 o'clock appointment. Yeah. Well, last time we did it and he walked in after we're all done.
Kim is someone.
Yeah. Kim knows what I meant. Good afternoon, Kim. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank
Yeah.
you. We have development permit DP 2017-109. The recommendation is that council approve option 1 with the following conditions. This development permit is issued for a new residence defined as a dwelling single detached. No variances have been granted. Development shall proceed according to the DC7 district and must conform with the land use bylaw. No permanent development shall occur on or over any utility right-of-way or easement. And then we have our 3 standard notes for the Lakes of Muirfield. The applicant is proposing to build a single-family dwelling in the hamlet of Lyelta within the Lakes of Muirfield. The bungalow is 1,925 square feet and about 24 feet in height. I'm going to go to my report. Legal description is 0710284 block 150, which is 3 Muirfield Close. It is currently zoned DC7, and the applicant is building a single-family dwelling. The property is located within Cell 2, Residential Type 2 of the DC District. Council is responsible for the issuance of development permits for all discretionary uses listed within each development cell as per the Direct Control District. Land use bylaw requirements. This application meets all requirements of the land use bylaw. And a dwelling single detached is a discretionary use in Cell 2. Agency circulation was not performed. File review, I had comments from our fire services. The home should conform to ABC 2014 and maintain in accordance to AFC 2014. Residential sprinklers are a requirement of a development in Muirfield and should be constructed as per NFPA 13R. Adjacent circulation was done to all adjacent neighbors with no responses received. So it is the recommendation to approve the application with the conditions that I read. This is the location of the parcel right here. It's right on the corner. This is the site plan that was submitted. I just want to bring to your attention, it is a side entrance garage. So they will be entering and exiting from Muirfield Crescent and not from Muirfield Close. Okay? I did speak with our Public Works Department and Protective Services with regards to these side entrances on a corner lot, and they didn't seem to think there was any issues with sight lines or safety, so we don't have anything in our land use bylaw with regards to side entrance garages on corner lots. Maybe something to take a look at in the future. I did go out, do a site inspection. This is the bare parcel. And that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just your last comment on the garage entrance. What's the difference if they have a garage in the front or the side? The distance for the corner and everything is the same?
So when it is a side entrance garage on a parcel that has houses on either side, you know they have to come in the front and then kind of maneuver around. Whereas in this particular case, with it being on the corner, I had concerns about there being the two roads intersecting with it being a side entrance. So I wasn't sure with them coming around and entering this way with cars coming around Muirfield Close, if that might cause some type of, you know, intersection safety or something like that. So not quite sure.
Brenda?
So I've been up to Muirfield there, and there's a couple of garages that do have, their garages come straight out, but their access is from the side. And so essentially what they're doing is they're coming on their own front lawn, what would normally be their front lawn. They don't have any lawn, they have an actual pad. So they actually pull up and turn into their house like this and then back towards their front door and out is actually how they're doing it. So I think that the pads are made big enough that they can crank it around on their own, but it actually eliminates grass in their front. That's what I see. They don't have that much grass. They have a little area at the end of the garage, between the garage and the front curb, whatever that is. So that's how I see that they're doing it, so.
Plus, it's a double garage.
Yeah.
Alice?
And I'm just going to go further with Ben. If it had a regular entrance for the side, if you look at your design, they're coming off of that other street on the same angle or even shorter than the other side. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't see any difference whether it's from it would be from the south into the garage, and this way they're coming in from the west. So it's still on the curve, so it doesn't make any difference to me. Right?
So I just wanted to bring to your attention that looking at it from a corner lot, that there could have been some concerns with safety with coming from the north, going south, and then crossing over so close to the corner of Muirfield Close. That was my only concern, was that, you know, maybe these side entrance garages should not be permitted on corner lots. Not that they shouldn't be permitted, but I think we just need to look at that more in detail from a safety perspective, that's all.
Any other questions? Council's wishes?
I'll move approval of DP 2017-109 with the following 4 stated conditions and the notes as proposed by staff.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Kim. And now it's a Transportation Infrastructure Services report.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
I'm sure that you all have a copy of my report in your package. I just have a couple of items that I'd like to give some updates on. The construction for the paving, I found out just a few minutes ago, actually started today or yesterday, so they're on site doing some work. They're doing the subgrade preparation today, so it has started, well, which is good news after, sounds like at least a couple of months delay on that. As you've probably noticed, Eagle Builders is well underway on the construction of the building, which again is really good news on the addition of the public workshop. I think that's pretty much all the updates that I have. If there's any questions, please go ahead. If not, I've got a few other items that I'd like to report back.
Just a comment through the chair. I know the paving crew got started late, and I haven't got calls about it until the last week, and that's because they finished combining out in that area and they're not using it. I think they were happy they weren't paving through August, because that's when they did all their combining over there. So they got to use the road when they didn't think they were going to be able to, so.
Yeah, an unexpected benefit.
Yeah, it did actually work out for the best, so.
Yeah.
And thanks for getting that gravel out. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? I think Rex had one.
Yeah, I'd sent forward an email on earlier. I had a lady that was looking to have some signs reinstalled. I think it was for a caution children sign.
Yes.
I do have her address. If you need it, I can forward that on as well. But do you know the location already?
I do, and I've done some investigation.
Well, your mic shut off there.
Oops. I have done some investigation already, and through the chair, I looked back on the videos from 2012, and I couldn't see any of the signs. Not to say that they weren't there past that time. I'm not sure of the timing when those signs that she claims were there. But I think maybe I'm going to leave it up to council to maybe suggest that we replace those signs based on her request. Because we did construct that road, and I know that some signs were taken down. I just can't nail down exactly whether those signs were there or not. I've asked my staff in the future to take more care and make sure that they have photos of the signs before they're taken down. So.
Right. So what would be your recommendation? Because I'm not getting a clear indication of exactly what sign she's talking about. She's talking about children playing?
I believe that's the case, yes.
Caution children sign, yes.
My staff seem to remember that there was some there, but they're thinking that they weren't county signs, that they were ones that maybe the landowner put up themselves.
Mr. Chairman, in fairness to the rest of the council, I think our report coming back to the next meeting on October 3rd, is this urgent and needs to be dealt with today? I think a report back to council providing all the information so that everybody has the information in front of them, because I think half the council probably doesn't even know the location you're looking at, or maybe more than half. So that would probably, if that's okay for Councillor
Yeah,
Harwood.
if you want to bring it back to the next meeting, that'd be great. We'll
If we can
discuss it then.
That'd be good. That'd give me a little bit more
Sure.
time to investigate.
Yep.
Brenda, you had a question too?
Yeah, I would, I guess I've had, well, we've had issues over the last 3 months. You've all been getting the emails from regards to 261 from Dennis Bigras. And I had staff call me last week with regards to Dennis, and I went and seen him on the weekend pertaining that road. And we've done traffic counts on that road. However, he has made the claim that the road was scheduled to be repaved from Highway 1 up to 564. And he's made the claim that it has been approved by council, and it was already in the approval books and everything has been done. So on that note, I'm requesting, I guess, to the CAO, if we could do some research as to council motions as to whether there ever was one. And since then, because this has gone back 2001, and he continues to claim that the county has broken promises. Shirley Reinhardt promised him way back when that this council has approved it, la, 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 la. So I would like a formal request on the results of it sent to Mr. Bigras to finally settle what was originally planned or not planned. And I do know that since then, other things have superseded that, like our road program and stuff. But if that's the case, then I think we should send him a letter stating that.
Through the chair. You said repave. I think you meant reconstruct.
No, actually, he has told me on the weekend, when I visited him, that it was to be rebuilt, and the road from south of 250 has only been rebuilt, and there was only a small section just north that was rebuilt, and the rest was not done because of landowner issues. And he said that it was also supposed to be repaved, because at one time, in front of the first section from Highway 1 to 244 was actually a cold mix on there, and then that was all taken out. So it's a combination. It covers two areas, because the first part is in Bernice's area, and the north part is in my area. And he's insisting that the entire road was to be paved from one end to the other. So I just would like to do some search on that, because I'm getting told that it's the county's fault. So I think if we do some research and send out the letter, and if that was all right with, and finally settle it with Mr. Biggrass?
Mr. Chairman, I'll instruct my EA to do that research, and we'll report back at the next council meeting.
Yeah, no, I don't need it today, but I did tell Dennis that I'm unaware of any motion to have this road specifically rebuilt, and Mike has responded to all Mr. Biggrass's emails, which has been lovely. So I just want to do that, and let's do the discovery and finally address the issue on that road.
Through the chair to Brenda, I think if I'm going back a long ways on my memory bank here.
2001 then.
It's a long ways.
2001.
There was talk about that whole access being paved, but that was tied into the development of Muirfield. And there was a change in the paving program that Muirfield, and they went west instead of south because the province stepped in, and it had to do with the alignment of the number one and what they were planning on doing with the number one, and they weren't going to allow, there wasn't going to be an access to the number one, so they went, the paving actually that was supposed to go south ended up going to the west, if I remember right. There was at one time, there was talk about it, but there was never a motion to do it. It was all tied in with that development out there.
Yeah,
So it's just, but
that particular road is actually what they call Prescott's. That's where the Prescott feedlot is on.
Yeah.
So it's a mile off, or it's 3 miles off of Lyalta Road.
I know.
So, and it was supposed to go west from Lakes of Muirfield or east?
No, originally it was supposed to go south.
South to the highway one.
South one is in there.
Well,
At the time, they wouldn't allow the south one because it wasn't.
Your mic,
Yeah, so.
your mic. So, yeah.
That's a request, so you're just going to do that and report to council before we report to Dennis? Okay, that's what you want? Okay.
We need to solve the issue because Dennis seems he would like the issue resolved. So I would
I'll get a
like to have
report
that
on
about-
it. Search minutes. Okay, anything else for Dave? Bernice?
Yeah, two things. Thanks for the gravel to Cheadle. They really appreciated how quick it got there.
You're welcome.
And also, because there's no sidewalks, the kids playing on the road, I was wanting to get, I've seen them before, signs that indicate kids are on the road to drive more carefully. Excellent. Yeah, that's excellent. Yes.
If you remember, through the chair, we did a trial in Nightingale, and I haven't heard any feedback yet. I don't know if, Councillor Knight, if you've had any feedback about the signs?
There was actually one Facebook post on that one of the residents said, is that the answer to speeding through Nightingale? And that was what my request was today about those other signs to address the speeding. But actually, the people that drive through definitely noticed them. And they noticed them the day they went up. I got phone calls that said that they were so it's worth a shot.
Yes, I'd be very pleased with that if I could. One on entrance and both sides.
Okay, I'm wondering if maybe we need a motion to do the other hamlets. There's, I think I had 5 or 6 other hamlets listed.
Okay.
Just wondering,
Yeah,
do
and
we
I've
want to
got a
bring that
cost for that
back
as well,
at the next
too, so-
council meeting with the other sign issue I have, and we'll just do it all at once?
Okay.
Sure, we could do that.
I'll be good
Yeah.
with that. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. But thanks, Dave.
okay.
Dave, has there been any follow-up to the request of the Speargrass residents for security lighting put at where they're storing their RVs?
Mr. Chairman, that item is coming on October 3rd. They'll be coming in to do a presentation on that. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Brenda?
Just to go back on that, Dave, did you require a motion to check that track out on that same road, 251? Did you require a motion for that? So what also has happened is that on that same road, Dennis called me with concerns of the old railroad track, so the CN rail that goes through there. And the pitch of the track from the road is extremely high. And he almost got taken out because the sight line isn't there. So when I was talking to Dave, when Dave called me the other day, he suggested that AMEC go out and have a look at that to see whether we need to either slow the traffic down or put a stop sign back there, because all the crossing tracks, or the X's, railway signs,
Crosswalks.
thank you, are gone. So did you require a motion, or is that just part of the maintenance of it?
I've gone ahead and
Okay.
had AMIC, I've given them that task to check that out to see what
Okay.
it should be posted at if there are no signage.
Or a sign, a stop sign. And the other thing was, is that, do we have the totals done for the traffic count on the Ring Road, but on the north end?
Sorry, I wasn't given that communication,
So,
so I can,
The road right, 242, what's the road down here, Rex? Right.
254?
Linnondale's Road. 245.
245.
Yeah, on the north end. And then there was also some, the traffic counts for that need, I guess, and then there was also some concern about the hauling on the north end. The excessive hauling on the north end from.
On 245.
Yeah, on 245 from 564 south by Huckstedt, and the amount of traffic going in there.
Yeah, I think that was resolved.
Was that resolved?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dave? Motion for Dave's report. Bernice? All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Agriculture, Community, and Protective Services.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
I believe you have my report in front of you. I don't have any additional updates to provide, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Through the chair, and this has nothing to do with our road program, but the other day, do we have any input into the province and their timeline when they do their grass mowing on their provincial roads?
I don't think, I mean, I know that Russ does coordinate, but I don't think we have the ability to tell them when to do their timing, but we do try and work alongside so that we're not impacting the traffic in
No, I
lots of
wasn't-
different areas at the same
Yeah, I
time.
was thinking more of giving them some notice that with the movement of the animals right now, this time of year, they are coming out of them ditches, and the grass on them provincial roads is tall enough, you don't see them till they're standing right on you don't get
So, Mr. Chairman, as council remembers, we sent a notification in that, and coordination in that regard, there's been no coordination, if at all,
Okay.
with Alberta Transportation. I know that Russ is in communication, as Angie said, with them about the weed control on that, but we haven't had any success in telling them we want the ditches cut in a certain time. And I think they've staggered some of the secondary highways. They're only cutting them every second year as well, so that's part of the issue as well. So, no, we've had no success with that. Maybe that's something at convention this fall we need to meet with Alberta Transportation on once again.
Yep, because there was two stags come out the other day, and I watched for them, and when they came out.
Yeah. We come home the other night and it was a big elk standing on the road, and they're a little bit taller. Okay, Alice? Yeah. Alice?
I talked to Volker Stephen a week and a half ago, and they're quite frustrated with this as well. The grass cutting people were supposed to be there 3 weeks to a month ago to do Highway 1. They still haven't showed up, and he was quite concerned with the same thing Ben was talking about. I asked him if he had any problem with putting our voting signs, you know, for anybody, any councillor running for re-election, that we would needed to request permission to put our signs on number 1. And he said, well, we can do it, but the grass is so high, we're not going to see the signs. And I suggested we go out and mow a little swat or something. But he was certainly hoping the mowers would be in by then, and they still aren't. So I don't know how the signage is going to go, because he said they'll probably just run them over and chew them up. So that was his comment. So they are frustrated with the same thing. They don't know when the crew's going to get there.
Okay, any other questions? Brenda?
So, just a couple of things, I guess. I'm noticing that the Wheatland West Industrial Area Structure Plan has been put on hold. Did we have a rough draft of that ever proposed back on that one?
No, we didn't have a rough draft finalized when I arrived here. And it's been put on hold basically to work with the Calgary Metropolitan Plan Board to make sure that that ASP, once it's finalized, is going to meet their rules and regulations, because if it doesn't, they won't accept it. And we'll end up having to rescind everything and start all over again, which is not a great idea. Right now, we're running on the existing one from 2006. For any applications that come in. But we will be moving forward, hopefully as we work on the interim plan, which we'll have to do that with the Calgary Metropolitan Board, so that I'm hoping we'll have the interim plan, and then we can run the ASP behind that, organizing it so that it meets their criteria.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Well, and I guess that maybe should be a discussion at the next October 2nd meeting, because what's in the existing plan was a 2-mile radius of industrial there. And I know on the new proposed plan that we had those meetings, we were going to eliminate that and keep it back into farmland, some of that. And that was going to change. So I'm not so sure that we shouldn't make that part of that discussion on October 2nd with that area structure plan. Because up until this point, we didn't know, well, we also have the highways, like those interchanges and stuff that of the Alberta Transportation has promised will be at the Highway 24 there. So I'm wondering if we should bring those documents back on the October 2nd meeting. Because my concern is if that's in the corridor, then we should be having a conversation about that particular area before we become part of the growth management plan. Because if we're going to make changes, we might as well do the changes now before we have to go through Calgary Regional.
Through the chair, I would welcome that discussion. I do have concerns regarding the boundary of the ASP, so I'd love to hear from council on your thoughts on that, and that would be very good for myself and Alan as we are attending these future meetings with the Calgary Growth Plan. We want to make sure that we're taking your correct understandings and recommendations to those meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, Alice?
And I think we have to go further. They did have a plan to reroute Highway 1, right? So I think that whole corridor we have to look at the whole thing, because they suggested that, you know, as the highway goes to the south, it would be a good place to develop, right? That development would follow the highway. So I think we've got to look at it in a bigger context than just the area that we have as the West Industrial.
Through the chair, I think you're talking about the bypass to the south of Strathmore. Yes, I mentioned that to the couple of the planners, so we met with them, the Strathmore planners, and I said that I'd like to sit down with them and get their thoughts on their development to the south and what that looks like. We also need to sit down with Alberta Transportation because I have no idea, unless Dave can answer this, on what they're looking at for what they will allow connecting to and from that bypass, because notoriously they're not going to want that bypass to turn into what's happened running through Strathmore. Or Red Deer.
Through the chair, that's correct. What would happen there would be service roads that parallel the Trans-Canada, and the only access that industry would have would be at the interchanges. And that's good light to shed on that interchange that would be at Highway 24. If this is nailed down as being a corridor, I'm thinking that would give us an out for paying for that interchange, because they were saying that we would have to pay the full cost of that interchange because it's connecting to our infrastructure if 24 becomes ours. So that changes the whole outlook on that it should be part of that industrial area and paid for by others.
So, Mr. Chairman, we'll consider that in some of our comments back, but I think we want to concentrate on the metropolitan plan and how that might affect it, but it certainly may have an effect, but I don't want to get digging into the ASP right now, but we'll take a look and see if there's any language. I don't think there is, but there may be, so.
I don't think that will change the metropolitan plan at all. But it is worthy of a discussion for sure. Okay.
So in your report, you did a meeting on September 13th at Cheadle. How did that go? And what was the result of it?
We will be bringing a report back to council on that. I'm not sure if it's October the 3rd or October the 10th, but it was well attended. And Colton followed up with the consultants, and they said they had some great questions, and people were very happy to be informed about the study and what was going on. But we'll have a full report back to you.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion for Angie's report. Rex is moved. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Correspondence items.
One question on.
Go ahead.
The letter from the school board to us and whether or not we want to put a formal expression of interest in the land in the Hazar and Gleason. I can understand, but why Hazar? I thought that would be Hazar.
Mr. Chairman, my understanding is the Hazar School actually is in Wheatland County. It's not in the village of Hazar. And from my understanding, the village of Hazar has already told them that they're not particularly interested in that school facility. So I had talked with my counterpart at the school division and said, what's the status of that? And where are you guys at? Because as you recall, at a regional partnership meeting, it was discussed what's going on with these schools. And I think Rockyford updated what's going on there, what's going on in standards. So they subsequently sent this letter. You don't need to necessarily make a decision on that, but I guess we have first right of refusal, I guess, on those buildings. I've had a number of 3 or 4 ratepayers in Gleason phone me directly and ask about the school and what's happening with that and the concern with the community and the loss of another, facility in the community and what's the county doing on that. So perhaps that's part of what needs to be done as strategic planning with the new council. So.
Well, you need to find, because I think going round and round circles, when I was sitting on the board, the school board, and we had to demolish some of those buildings. The last one we did in Drumheller was $150,000. The one in Hazar would probably be in that area if there was any asbestos found in the brickwork or something there. So if we are interested in that, the land is a good, there's nothing wrong with the land, but it's the building itself that would cause a problem, because it would be a fairly big cost to pull that building down.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's true. We do have some of the preliminary reports, I think, we provided before, a couple of years ago, for council. If council's interested in it all in those buildings, my recommendation would be to hire someone to go in and do an assessment, our own assessment of the building, in consultation with the information we get from the school division and determine what needs to be done with that. But I think at first, council needs to determine, is this part of the infrastructure that you want to have? Do you want these facilities? The concern I think that was expressed to me by these individuals in Gleason was what's happening with those buildings. Does the county, is it the county going to take those over, or are we going to lose them, or is the school division going to sell them at a profit? A number of questions that, some of it's out of our control, but some of it this council needs to decide. So that's something I can't answer, because councils never give us direction administratively. You can certainly give direction at some point, doesn't have to be today, about going in and doing a full assessment on the building, and I'm sure the school division would have no problem with that. I kind of had brief discussions with them, and I don't think they'd have an issue with that. Their report does identify that there is some asbestos piping in some of the buildings, and there may be asbestos in some of the vermiculite and some of the walls and that. All depends what you want to do with the building. If you want to turn it into a gymnasium or whatever that's already there, maybe there's no issue. If you want to start putting up new walls and taking down walls, you may have an issue. So, right? So, I don't know. I guess at some point we need to make a decision on moving forward, and maybe that's something for the council in the future to decide, but it needs to be decided fairly soon, because I don't think the school division is going to sit with those properties for much longer, I don't think, before they make action. So.
Brenda?
At our last regional partnership meeting, the mayor of Hazar said that he had talked to the school board and they weren't interested in the building at all, but they were interested in the land. So that was his report at that meeting. Standard bought Hazar School? No, I'm talking Hazar. He wants the land for, baseball. I know.
It's the county's
But
land.
that's, well, no, it's still school board land, is it not?
Well,
School board owns the land. They're interested in purchasing the land, but not the building.
The town
They
had
like the
first
building.
offer.
Yeah.
Town had the first offer.
Town had the first offer, yeah.
The village. The only reason I'm bringing it up is there is a cost if those things cost a lot to demolish, and they cost a lot to operate. That one is about $110,000 to $20,000 a year just to keep the power and the heat on in there.
Alice?
The one in Gleason, there's been talk around Gleason that they would like to be able to have a museum. There is no other buildings in the town to do that. So there has been some expression given. And so I know they feel maybe they would like the county to speak for them, because I think the county doesn't have to pay for them, or they get them for $1 or whatever. I don't know. I mean, that's the easy part, right? It's $1. But I think we do have to make a decision, because everybody out there, I know in Gleason, they really need a building for a museum, and there's been talk about that in a school, and I don't know what all. But what it'll end up happening, I don't know. But I think we really do need that information given to council, and have a good discussion and see where we're going to go. And maybe it should go back to the communities to say whether they want them or not. You know, if the county does take them, is there someone in those communities that are really going to take hold and do something with the building? Or are they going to be sitting empty? That's a big question.
Rex?
Yes, so the discussions that I have had wasn't, I haven't heard the museum. I did hear a couple comments made about having some more recreation and indoor recreation in the wintertime and utilizing it for that. I've heard that comment before. And I'd have no problem taking it over for a community, if you're talking about a community taking it over, but I mean, essentially, it's still saying that we're taking it over, because there's no association that's gonna take it over and be able to afford to run it, so the cost is gonna be, so the question to me is, do we go ahead and take over those schools, and then any deficiencies that are there need to be remediated, so then there's a cost probably there. And then the cost to operate year after year. So then do you look at taking that over, or do you look at maybe putting something else into another facility, improvement into another facility to make it a little more cost effective?
Okay, next one is Wheatland County correspondence to the Minister of Municipal Affairs. The letter we wrote. And Alberta Environment and Parks, Office of the Minister, about the compost facility. Drumheller Police, Provincial RCMP Detachment, Statistics Report. Any questions on any of those? Motion accept for information then. Brenda? All in favor? Carried. Sure.
I've just been given information with regards to the NDP government cutting off funding for rural programming, and that includes Ag Societies, and I was wondering when our deadline is for our resolutions for the fall. If you could contact Pat for...
The deadline for the zone meeting is passed. I think that was September 12th, but I'd have to double check that. So it'd have to be something that was emergent to the, but I can double check that. I'm pretty sure it was the 12th of September.
Okay, because as of now, the provincial government has cut off funding, and there will be no funding for any of the Ag Societies. So the programs are now going down, so we'll be probably asking for more. So I know that the Strathmore Ag Society has sent a letter requesting, but I was thinking, it sounds like they're also cutting a majority of the other rural programming as well. So I was thinking about trying to draft up a resolution to go forward.
Okay, any other questions? Alice?
I just want to bring up on the 26th, Wheatland Crossing School at 1:30 is having an opening. I think everybody got notified. There was also the Standard Ag Society sent a letter out to everybody, 4:30 at the arena for celebration of the $50,000 they got through our how do you say it? Funding?
Chris.
SLI funding?
It was Crisp and Curb.
Chris, yeah.
And Curb. It was both.
So just a reminder that they're on if anyone's going, so to let them know. I don't know about the school or whether you have to let them know or not, but you've been invited.
They sent me one.
Okay. I didn't send them, but I will do that.
Okay, anything else? Don?
What are the rules and regulations for putting signage in county ditches?
For the election you're talking about, Don?
That's right.
We have a package that is in the candidates package. If you look in there, there's a page on there that talks about signage in the ditches. It's not
says
allowed on public.
roadways.
Pardon?
The package says roadways.
That's correct.
So is that on the road or on beside it?
That's anything in the right of way, Don. You're not permitted, so.
Have them out 24 hours after.
Yep.
What happens, but
We do. I did mine. Yep.
kids for laying under vehicles because nobody picks them up, and I'll take them down, take them home, and use them to lay on.
Did you get my signs last year?
I lay on her every once in a while.
I need to take
No, I don't have any of yours.
All in favor?